Good morning, everyone. It's James Carpenter with Country Living, and today we're going to mow 6 acres of grass. Now, it is actually 6 acres, but of course we've got structures on the property. So the 6 acres, probably down to about 4.5, 5, if I had to guess. So that's the spray nozzle. And what I do is I hook the sprayer up behind a lawnmower, and I take the wand and I wrap the hose around to the driver's compartment. And each time you see my arm move and me spray, I'm actually spraying individual weeds. I'm using a broadleaf weed killer, but I'm targeting the weeds that are in the yard. So basically, if you keep your yard up and you keep on top of the weeds, what I'm doing here with the spot killing is saving me from having to use the boom on the sprayer and spray the entire yard, because the entire yard does not need sprayed at this point. I just need to kill a few individual weeds. Now, we had another video in the past where I just sprayed the way I am today, but I did it on the perimeter. So I want to take you down memory lane, or tell you about the history of mowing this grass. I purchased this property and it was just bare acreage, except for the farmhouse. That was a separate situation that I ended up with later. I started mowing this grass in the mid-70s, and back then I was a very young man in my 20s, and the best I could come up with was a Dynomart 12 horsepower mower with a 36-inch deck. And I'm going to be honest with you, compared to this zero-turn 60-inch deck, the mowing time has been cut dramatically with the Z-Master. However, all I had back then in the early days was that 36-inch deck, and it would literally take me a whole weekend to get everything mowed. I just mowed for hours and hours. I obviously was raising kids, and not every time I mowed, but if the kids were around, I would mow the grass with the kid sitting on my leg, and by that I mean a very small child. But obviously I was babysitting. I wasn't going to leave the young child unattended. So I carried him on a lawnmower with me. So they got a lot of experience mowing too at a very early age. I, over the years, graduated from the Dynomart 36-inch. My next major mower was a Ford, and it had a 50-inch deck, and it was hydrostatic. You didn't have to shift gears or use clutches. That, to me, was a really big step up. And I mowed with that old Ford. It had a 16-horse core on it. I mowed with it for so many years that I had to have the engine rebuilt once during that time. And I thought the Ford was it. You know, I could raise the deck up and down with hydraulics. I had 50 inches. But I was still driving a lawnmower with a steering wheel. Alright, several years later, I came across a mower called a Dixie Chopper. And it had a blown up engine, so I put a brand new engine on it. And I'll be honest with you, I mowed with that Dixie Chopper for years, a lot of years. And then one day one of the pumps went out. It had two pumps. And when the pump went out, I, of course, tried to have it rebuilt. I tried to find replacements, and obviously when a mower gets that old, parts availability and even rebuilding the parts are just about impossible. So I had to give the Dixie chopper up. And it's probably been about 8 or 10 years ago, I came across this Toro Z Master with a zero turn capability and a 60-inch deck. And I've had to have that engine gone through, not completely overhauled, but the valve train, lifters, and all that. It's really a fresh engine right now, and the mower deck just got some improvements, some new pulleys, a new belt. Some of that stuff failed. But anyhow, mowing has been a challenge for a lot of years, and I've kept up with it. And it seems the older I get, the tougher it is to keep up with the mowing. I think it's got a lot to do with stamina. But the larger mowers compensate for the age and the slowdown of the person operating the equipment. You know, I did leave another mower out of here. At one point during the time I had the Dixie chopper, there was a farmer that had an old Groundsmaster 3-cylinder diesel 72-inch deck out front, and it was a solid ball rust. And I told that farmer, I said, if you ever want to sell this mower, call me. Well, one day the phone rings and he says, I'm ready to sell the mower. And I said, well, I'd like to hear it run. So I came over to his place and he started it up and it ran. And I pushed on the pedal and it went forward. I pushed on the pedal and it went back. The deck raised and lowered. So at that point, I was pretty convinced that I had something I can work with. Well, I put a lot of time and effort into that mower. The old farmer had mowed several acres for several years, and there was a lot of stuff wore out on it. And part of it was when you engaged the belts, that whole mechanism. Well, subsequently I pulled that mechanism out of there and I started looking at it and I said, all these parts are brand new. So the farmer at some point, before he gave up on the mower, had that rebuilt, and I think it was pretty close to the time he did it but didn't use it, and then I purchased it. Well, I figured out by removing the apparatus what the actual problem was. And the problem was worn out mounting brackets. Okay, so the video obviously is over. I appreciate you taking time to watch my videos, and have a great day.